Wait. I'm not that ready.
Redo.
Okay.
Good evening. Welcome to the November 27, 2018 meeting of Pequannock Township Council. Ms. Marsh?
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in a pledge of allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for individuals serving our nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Amen.
The clerk will please call the roll.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Hurd?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mayor Winterfield?
Here.
We have a quorum.
We're all here. There are no presentations scheduled for this evening, so at this time are the reports or comments from any volunteers serving our community. Frank, did you have your hand up, Tom?
Get it up quick enough.
Frank Spazzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue, Pequannock, New Jersey, and also the vice chair for Open Space. And we had a short meeting beginning of the month, and the most important thing is that Joe's working on the
Exactly.
on Riverside. They're putting up the kiosk for that portion of the Riverwalk.
Okay.
And basically everything else was just as it was. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Tom?
Tom, you have
We're going to pick on you.
peer pressure, council pressure.
Tom Andrea, 6 Elm Road, Pompton Plains, New Jersey, Chair of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board and Secretary for the Environmental Commission. I want to specifically thank Adam for helping me out and the Environmental Commission out. We took advantage of a Black Friday sale on kayaks, and we had some money left over in our budget for the year, and we used that money to buy 2 kayaks. They're in the shed at Woodland Lake now, and they'll be an asset to the Environmental Commission. I know the mayor went out and we used a canoe, and it wasn't as nice, but now we have a couple extra kayaks too. So if I want to if any of the council people would like a tour of Aquatic Park, hopefully we can do it nicely now with those 2 extra
So they're the
kayaks. Sit-in kayaks, yes.
So Tom, I remember when you were talking about the kayaks a couple weeks ago. So what's the difference between, so the ones that we have are flat bottoms, so they're not very good at navigating a river. What's the difference between the ones that you just got?
They're fairly flat bottom, and it's hard to say. The reviews for the kayaks I just got online, for Dick's Sporting Goods, it has different ratings for different things, like best, good, and I forget what the low rating is.
Depending on how you're using it?
Yeah, and for river and streams, this had a best rating, so I'm hoping it's going to do good. We took them out in Woodland Lake, and they did fine there, but we won't actually know until we get into those conditions.
In that river, you need a good kayak.
You need a reasonable kayak.
Yeah,
when we went out, the water was a little bit high, so it was moving a little bit fast, so, the faster it's moving, the better kayak you'll need. So hopefully these kayaks will be good. We won't know until we get them in the river and really try them and make sure they're good, but I believe they'll be good.
Okay.
And they're very stable kayaks. They're wide kayaks, 9.5 feet long, easy maneuver, so on a lot of good reviews online.
Are they all singles, or are they 2 people?
Singles. I'm looking to try and get a tandem kayak too through a different means, but that hasn't come through yet, so we might be able to get a tandem kayak for the town too.
Tom, I have a question for you. Since
Sure.
that's now the property of the Environmental Commission, I assume.
I don't think it's... I don't know.
I'm asking how, if somebody was interested in using one of those kayaks, either on Woodland Lake or in the on one of the tours, who would they go to?
I think if I could jump in,
Sure.
Councilwoman, I think the Parks and Recreation Department would probably be the best point of contact, and we'd have to establish some element of procedures associated with it, but we can definitely explore that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was just going to be on tour with Environmental Commission members or used at...
Personally, and I don't know if Tom Newman looks at it the same way yet, but I look at it like they're township property now.
Right.
I don't think I'd like Parks and Rec to rent them out all summer long because I think that would be too heavy a toll. But say Joe Golden or Ray from the Alexander Ave wants to go out on the river to take a look around and see actually what's going on, there's 2 kayaks and they can do that. So I think they're going to be very useful for the town too.
Great.
Not just for our tours we lead with the Environmental Commission or with Parks and Rec.
Tom, are you going on that TBSA tour on Saturday?
Yes, I will be there.
Did you want to say anything about that?
Is there something we have to look out for?
Is it going to float?
Do you need a kayak?
Better strap it to the top of your truck.
75% of that tour is outside.
I'll have it, bring umbrellas. We'll just make a note of that,
Just
bring
make sure
umbrellas.
everybody's aware of that.
Do you want to
Thank
say
you.
anything about that you're meeting here, I think, in some detail?
We're going to try and meet here, carpool over to the TBSA 10 a.m. tour, and of course, you're all welcome to go.
Unfortunately, I will not be able to.
It's going to be a highlight, so.
It's actually a very interesting tour.
It is. I've taken it several years ago, thanks to you, and it was a very interesting tour. Okay? Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is public comments. The public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period of public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Nope.
I think we're getting rushed, Mayor.
I see a storm in it.
Yeah, right? Okay. The next item is the manager's report. Mr. Brewer?
Thank you, Mayor. First, Mr. Andrew, as we all know, is much too kind. He doesn't owe me any thanks. I owe him thanks for being willing to do what he did, and it was a pleasure working with him to get that done, so thank you, Tom. Within my report that was provided, there are a number of items that are addressed later in the meeting, but I'll just touch on some items that won't be addressed later. The first is, at the last council meeting, there was a question about where the Township of Pequannock's water that it purchases from the city of Newark actually comes from. And I learned, as a result of researching that question, that there are 5 reservoirs that the Newark Water Supply uses, and it rotates them. And they are Echo Lake, Canister Reservoir, Oak Ridge Reservoir, Clinton Reservoir, and Charlottesburg Reservoir. And they're all in the basin in the area. So that is the source of the drinking water that we purchase from the city of Newark. Municipal budget on Tuesday, November 20th, 2018, as required by the Faulkner Act. The township noticed budget hearings with myself, Julie Kuplik, CFO, and the respective department heads to go over their initial requests for appropriations. We spent the better part of the entire day doing that, and it was a good process to, obviously it's my first budget in the Township of Pequannock, so it was a good opportunity for both Julie and I to get our hands and feet wet and dirty on that. So we did that in compliance and are moving forward with the budget calendar as expected. And I think that concludes all the items that are not either scheduled for public hearing or discussion later in the meeting.
Okay, that's great.
Oh, one other thing, Mayor. Sorry, I apologize. On behalf of the township and on behalf of Mayor Winterfield, I did attend a symposium earlier today that was put on by the governor's office, where the governor did speak regarding shared services. There were a number of leaders in state government, the deputy commissioner of the Department of Community Affairs, the director of Division of Local Government Services, the governor's appointed shared services czar, and it was a nice opportunity for about 2 hours to sit with maybe 20 other or 30 other municipal leaders, both administrators, managers, and elected officials, and discuss a number of items. So it was a positive opportunity, and I was happy to represent the Township of Pequannock.
Did you get to speak at all, or was it interactive? Or
There was some opportunity to speak, but the majority of it happened as soon as we left the big room, and everybody had a chance to talk to each other and discuss some things, and actually had some good conversations with some of the Morris County towns. So
Good.
thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, good, thank you. Next on the agenda is public hearing on ordinance 2018-24. Ms. Marsh?
Ordinance number 2018-24 is a bond ordinance providing for the rehabilitation of the Martin Berry House in and by the Township of Pequannock in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $360,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $342,857 in bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof.
Are there any comments from council?
So this is, we're bonding out because we're going to get the money back?
The majority of the township's general capital program is funded through cash. So when you receive a grant, and we received a sizable grant in the amount of $281,728 from the County of Morris, unless you have $281,728 sitting in a drawer,
Cash, right.
you can't award the contract. So by creating this authorization, it will allow us to award the contract and then hopefully be able to not issue debt. The goal is not to issue any debt. We may need to issue some of the debt, depends. But the goal will be to issue as little as possible and then get reimbursed by the county. Got it. So this is a funding mechanism in order to effectuate the grant.
Okay.
Okay.
We do this on a regular basis.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right.
Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make that motion to open to the public.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If anyone in the audience has questions or comments on this ordinance, please come to the microphone, identify yourself for the record. Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2018-24.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Next on the agenda is public hearing on ordinance 2018-25. Ms. Marsh?
Ordinance number 2018-25 is an ordinance reappropriating $36,213.74, not needed for their original purposes, in order to provide for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Pequannock in the County of Morris, New Jersey. And I should note that there's a spell correction on the first page. It's Township Hall, not Township Flail.
Okay, that's good. Are there any comments from council?
Yeah, this is cash or money that we did not appropriate, but we did not use, correct?
Correct.
So now we're pulling it back into our general fund?
No, this is, it's essentially an accounting exercise that requires council approval. Historically, there were authorizations in multiple years for capital expenditures, and if you went $5 over here, $1,000 over there, although it was within the overall budget, it wasn't appropriated for that specific purpose. So these are unexpended balances that are being reappropriated to satisfy those over expenditures.
So it's
So we're
clear.
spending money.
No, we're not spending anything. There's no additional expenditure, there's no additional authorization.
We're just shifting.
It's just moving boxes to put the right money in the right
Paper
box.
shifting.
Getting the authorization in the right place.
Correct, and it requires legislative approval.
Yeah, they gotta remember it's government.
Yeah, you authorized it, so you have to authorize these.
The move.
You authorized it.
Are there any other questions?
No.
No? Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make that. Go ahead, Brian. Rock, paper, scissors. I'll make that motion to open public.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. If anyone in the audience has questions or comments on this ordinance, please come to the microphone and identify yourself for the record. Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2018-25.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. There are no ordinance scheduled for introduction, so we'll go right to resolutions. Ms. Marsh?
Beginning with Resolution R 2018-198, authorizing tax office refunds, overpayments, or cancellations. 199, confirming the designated membership in the Pequannock Township Fire Department. That's for Tyler Van Sant. 2018-200, rescheduling a regular township council meeting. 2018-201, accepting a sanitary sewer easement over a portion of 560 Route 23. That's an agreement with Virginia Industries LLC. We're going to pull 2018-202 because there were paperwork that needed to come in, and it did not come in on time. So I'm going to list that on the next agenda. 2018-203, authorizing the transfer of 2018 municipal budget appropriations. 204, canceling unexpended sewer capital appropriation balances, and R 2018-205, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the November 21st, 2018 bill list, and the November 21st, 2018, 2015, and 2016 FEMA elevation escrow lists.
Thank you. Are there any comments on the resolutions from council?
No, the only one I had was going to be on the one we just pulled, so
Okay.
can wait on that.
Anybody down there?
Nope.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt these resolutions?
I'll make that motion to adopt Resolution R 2018-198 through 201, and then R 2018-203 through 205.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. The next item on the agenda, items for discussion. So I guess we'll take it from the top.
Yes, ma'am. Meetings.
Who's going to, Carol, you going to do the December, January meetings, organize that?
Just get a calendar.
Okay, so, hold on. There are, we need to schedule a reorg meeting and 2 meetings usually to discuss committee appointments.
Appointments.
We're talking January?
The committee appointments are in December.
December?
And you sent out an email, right?
I did.
Okay, I'm away from December 9th to December 13th.
Okay.
In that memo, which I have managed to display,
We're not going to make the 11th meeting, right? We have a meeting on the 11th.
Can we do it the week of the 17th, or is that too late?
I think we should try to do one the first week of December.
Okay, then we'll do
I
that.
agree with Dave.
We can do one in the first week, and then,
Yeah.
The 4th?
December 4th is good.
December 4th is fine. There may be a meeting that night, I'm not sure.
We could
Or
go,
we can in the conference room.
go in the
we
conference
have a
room.
meeting that night.
What time? Is it going to be 7 or 6?
I don't know why I had that there.
6.
I would prefer
4th
6.
doesn't work for me.
The 4th doesn't work for you.
I have a Cub Scout meeting which is not in town. We're going on
Why I
site.
have this.
6:15? Unless you guys can do it earlier.
I can do it early.
Make a meeting with that new group.
I can do earlier. Can anybody else do earlier on the 4th?
What
He wants to do 4, he said?
Like maybe
Maybe 4?
4:30?
I can, but I don't know if you're going to get everybody else.
I
I
can.
can.
I can. Kath?
Kathy can.
Don't worry about me.
Kyle, you can?
Kyle, you can make it, right?
Yep,
Can we do it at 4:30 on the 4th?
that's fine with me.
4:30 on the 4th it is. And the second one?
Fine.
Do you want a second one, or do you want to wait?
Yeah, I'd like a second one.
And Rich, you're away
Let's
from
do
the
a second
9th?
one, just to,
Depends how good you do.
From the 9th to the 13th.
yeah, if we have to cancel it, we'll cancel it. But it's
Yeah, you're better off scheduling it and canceling
How
it.
about
Just discussion.
the,
17th or 18th, anything
how
in
about
there?
the 17th?
It's fine. I'm good.
You don't have a planning
Do we have
meeting
planning
that
board
day, do you?
then?
We might, but we can do that in the other conference room.
We start at 6, we should be out of there before a planning board.
I'm good with
There might be a court, too.
I'm good with 6.
We start in a small room, it's only 6 of us.
How's 6 o'clock on the 17th?
Second day? 17th?
Can you do that, Kyle? 6 o'clock on the 17th. All right.
Kyle, that works?
It might get canceled if you finish on the 4th anyway.
Do you want to do it earlier than 6?
Well, here's the problem, we may not have all the names by the 4th. I've seen this before.
You're probably already
Yeah,
in.
because I'm still
It's next week.
soliciting.
Right, I don't think you're going to get much done on the 4th, to be honest with you.
So Monday the 17th, what time?
You said 6. I was wondering if everybody, everybody...
I can do 6. Can everybody else do
I can
6?
do 6.
Okay,
I can
6 it
do
is.
4, 5, 6, anytime.
Kyle?
Kyle? All right, 6.
Okay.
6 on the 17th, correct?
I would try to, strongly suggest that we try to get as many applications,
course.
in
Between now and then.
before the 4th. There's no sense of this meeting if we're not going to have.
Right.
That's next week.
You know what's going to happen, Dave, we're not going to have enough here.
That's
I
next
thought
week.
they had to be in by the end of November.
Yeah, well, that was last year, too.
Yeah, but Carol did this year send out emails to everybody personally.
Yeah, but...
Everybody got a personal email.
All right.
I have a list right here of who's sent it. If you want me, I can email it or I can pass it down. Either way.
You can email it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
they
so
got
we got-
plenty of notice.
We'll have enough.
We got 12/4 at 4:30 and 12/17 at 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the reorg.
Okay.
Well, if you don't mind, if I could just jump in on that, rather than get into an assume situation, my understanding of past practice and when I've served in a municipality with a similar form of government, those meetings were not attended by the manager or the attorney. Is that consistent with the understanding of the council?
Yeah, you didn't,
The appointment
right.
that
The two we just set up.
Exactly.
That's fine.
I just don't want to assume something and then miss something.
You don't need to
Okay.
do that.
Don't not
Want
show
to
up.
confirm
I
that,
should
yeah.
say a no-show.
Where's the
yeah.
manager?
Yeah, right, no, you don't have to be there, no.
We don't want you there.
My thank you. I appreciate it.
Take the hint.
January 2nd works for me for real.
January 2nd works for me.
Yeah, I'm good.
January 2nd work for you?
What time of day?
6, 7, what's good, Kyle? It's your night.
6 o'clock is probably,
Yeah, 6 is fine.
Okay?
so 1, 2,
at 6.
119, 219 at 6.
So then the final question is, do we need a meeting on the 8th?
For regular
The
council
regular
meeting?
council meeting.
Yes, absolutely. Kyle's got to say something.
Well, Adam, you'll probably have stuff to do, bills to pay.
I can certainly find something to do on the 8th.
I'm sure you have
I
bills
would
to
be
pay.
surprised if we didn't have a meeting, because the reorg is not, it's just
Yeah.
reorganization.
Yeah.
It's not a meeting.
It's fine. I probably won't be able to get the notice out fast enough, so I need to notice that meeting as a special meeting.
So fast enough.
But you have
Oh,
to
for
do
the year, 'cause
annual
you
meeting
notice it all at
notice.
once, right.
And if on the off chance that I don't get it, supposing I sleep in or something the next day,
You better not sleep.
and I'm...
You're better off noticing
I'm not
than
trying, I
canceling
can,
it.
right.
Right,
No, I won't cancel it, but you can notice it as a special meeting and then also notice it as a...
right.
So I'm going to notice a 7 PM meeting on the 8th.
I'll notice the notice.
So, Adam, let me ask you this question. There's no floating holiday? You guys are working on 12/31?
I have to,
Gotta check.
That's a Monday.
New Year's Eve, 12/31.
I know you're off on January 1st, that's Tuesday, but
If it makes you feel better, Dave, I'm working.
we are open, Councilman. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm working too, but,
Oh,
Yeah, no, we are open and I will be working.
all right.
I'll be working.
Are they having a luncheon this year?
I don't know. Last year we had a holiday luncheon.
Yeah, is there a holiday luncheon this year for committees and...
We're
Working on it?
working on it for staff. I don't know about committees. I know
Not
the,
sure if you're...
Well, it's usually the
Maybe
same
everybody.
thing. They invite
Yeah,
them.
okay.
Yeah.
so yeah, we're working on, I think the date was just solidified today. We're finalizing the details and I'll send that out.
No, it's just for staff, it's just for staff.
Well, yeah, I mean...
No, it's consistent with what we did last year.
Well, last year it was staff and
Then that's what it will be.
And committees.
committees.
New guy. I'm sorry.
It was kind of like a whole day affair, like people rolled in and rolled out.
Yeah, so that way we don't have to shut down offices. People can cover and come and
Right.
go. So, yeah, it's that is my understanding is it's going to be that same format.
So you'll send an email out on that one?
Do you have the date?
Once we have the details and it's announced, I'll send it out.
But you can't tell us the date?
I don't have it right now.
Okay.
It was a
I
this
thought it was
morning
top
thing. I
secret.
didn't know. I
It was
didn't.
like top
I just didn't come prepared with it.
You're really...
Everybody's invited but the council.
But we're not going to tell you the time. You can come, but we won't tell you when. Just keep coming every day and showing up.
Got an email that morning, oh, by the way.
Yeah, we had the luncheon the next day. Okay, we good?
Yep.
All right, best practices inventory. You want to talk about that, Adam?
Yes, ma'am. As the council may be aware from prior years, a number of years ago, the Department of Community Affairs, with the support of the Governor's Office, created the Best Practices Checklist. For the benefit of the record, the audience present, essentially, the state decided that they would come up with a list of things that they described as best practices, which has evolved over time. Initially, it was just a questionnaire. In succeeding years, they added some teeth by saying that if you didn't score a certain amount, some of the money that the state provided to you, whether it was obligated to provide that money or otherwise, would be withheld. So I'm pleased to report that the township scored a 90% and zero money will be withheld based upon the 2018 Best Practices Checklist.
Did we miss the
Get a
deadline?
100.
There are a number of interesting questions in the best practices checklist. For example, do you insist on buying all hybrid vehicles for your municipal fleet?
Right.
No.
So each administration approaches it differently. So some questions, candidly, the professional administrators and managers in the state of New Jersey, as well as finance officers, take umbrage with because they're not necessarily best practices. They're ideological in nature. I'll use that language. As a component of the best practices, there is a question that was asked about whether or not Local Finance Notice 2018-13 had been discussed with the Township Council, which involves using electronic fund transfers to pay bills. So Ms. Kupelik, the Township's Chief Financial Officer, is here, and if the council doesn't mind, she will briefly describe Local Finance Notice 2018-13, because we said yes on that one.
Oh, so we are doing it?
Is that like
No, it says
Venmo?
it'll be discussed tonight. It's on page 7 of 16.
As part of best practices, I just wanted to let you know that the Local Government Services did issue Local Finance Notice 2018-13, which allows us to use electronic funds to pay our bills. And I just wanted to let you know that we are looking into it as a possibility to use it in our accounting software. So if you have any questions about use of
So
EFTs.
up to today, we don't use electronic transfer, we cut checks for every single thing?
Yes,
Put a
that is
little
what,
stamp on it, every little check.
what is it?
Yes.
Stamp on all our checks.
Yes,
Postage stamp.
it's a lot of
Manual.
checks. So,
And previously, there were components of laws and regulations that prohibited it, so it's an evolution, and now they're really promoting it, which is why they came out with the Local Finance Notice that they want to ensure is discussed with respective governing bodies.
I think
Yes.
it's a
No, I
great
think it's
idea.
great.
So,
Electronically.
is there any,
Don't worry about checks being cashed
Right,
either.
Can I get a
Lost.
direct deposit in my check? No.
is there anything special, like, can we use Bank of America or PNC, whoever our bank is, just to do regular bill play, or is it something?
we have to
Special
initiate
we
the
have to do.
transfer. Basically, they want us to initiate every EFT. We can't do like automatic debit. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Or like a bill pay where I can pay, whatever the thing is?
Yeah, we can log on as long as we initiate the transfer. If we might have to do it through some type of online portals, like go on through online bill pay, kind of what you're saying? Yeah, we would, as long as we initiate the EFT. That's kind of what they're saying. We can't do automatic debits from our bank account for this, that, and the other thing. We have to.
Because of internal controls.
So it's your accounting software that allows you to do that? You don't have to switch banks or anything to do that?
No, I mean, we can create a file through our accounting software, but we'd have to compile the data. We'd have to set everything up with our vendors. So it would be a lengthy process to do that for every vendor. And for every vendor, it might not be the best way to go.
So it depends on whether or not they accept EFTs.
Yeah, we would have to have their banking information, routing numbers. So it is very much, we have to go through vendor by vendor, case by case, and determine, is EFT the best way to go for a certain type of bills?
Right, you don't use the same vendors for everything, do you?
No, like a vendor would be like if we're paying Home Depot, if we're paying
A
Lowe's.
repetitive one. Yeah, you would
It's,
want to do
it's
it
just
with.
whoever we're buying from is considered like vendor.
Right, because most of the money that comes into our business is electronic, and most of the money going out of our business is electronic now. We don't do checks that often anymore.
Yeah, most places don't.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
It's good
but,
to see the town.
Except for government.
yeah.
We like paper in municipal government.
Right, paper trail, you still have a trail electronic.
And I would imagine once those accounts are set up, it's got to be easier
Oh.
and time-saving
Oh, for
than
sure.
writing out checks and mailing checks.
Yeah, it really depends on the type of vendor. For things like utilities, like electric, and things like that, it would be a lot easier to do EFT than mailing checks, because then with billing and timing differences. But it is definitely something that I would be interested in for certain types of vendors, certain types of products.
It's definitely something we should,
So what you're saying is because of this, your job is going to be so much easier.
So
you can
much.
take on some more work.
I can pay my taxes electronically, why can't you pay some
There you
people
go.
electronically? That makes no sense.
Now we can.
They're definitely getting with the times with
Good,
the
good.
new finance notice that they issued, so I'm happy with it.
Well, if you're happy, we're happy.
That's all I'm
So I
at.
like to hear. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Adam, I have a question on, I can't tell what page it is, 6-16. It says the CRS rating, 4 rating. Now, aren't we at a 5 now?
What page is that on?
Our CRS.
7/16 or?
Is there a number next to
Is
the
it
question?
16/16?
16/16.
16
It
slash.
says, it's the third one down, perspective.
Well, it could be, the lower number the better. So if we're
Yeah,
at
lower is
5
better.
now,
Oh.
we're shooting for
Oh,
a
so
4.
oh, that's right.
Is that what we are? We're 5.
We are currently at 5, we're shooting for a 4. That is
Four.
correct.
Yeah, lower's better. Yeah.
Always better.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Now, we usually do this in September. Is this late, or did they change the date when this was due, the whole?
It was significantly changed.
Okay.
For example, one of the questions, they required us to explain all the shared services that we were negotiating, what the status of them was, what the outcome was.
So that was pretty easy.
So there was a number, we actually have a fair amount ongoing.
Oh.
The challenge is, I'm not going to describe contract negotiations in a document that's public.
Right, until it's done.
So they did a lot of things. It's a new administration. They did a lot of things that were different. The Government Finance Officers Association and Managers Association, like I said, took issue with it. So there were meetings that were held, there were requests that were made, and I think that delayed it a little bit.
Okay. As long as we turned out, that's good. Anybody have any other questions on it?
No.
No?
Okay. Adam, Legacy Castle?
Okay, let me just move my documents. As was brought up at the last Township Council meeting with respect to some correspondence and inquiry, the council directed that I put this item on for discussion this evening. In the interim, as I mentioned at the last meeting, I did sit with Mr. Gary Hillen of the operations area of the Legacy Castle to discuss the fireworks. For the benefit of the record, there have been 4 fireworks shows in 2018. The 5th is scheduled for December 8th. And the question as a result of the evolution of the operations of the council is, how do we want to approach this? Mr. Hillen and I have had an ongoing communication about issues. Castle and the staff have been very responsive. In an effort to further those discussions, I did sit with Mr. Hillen and said, okay, the council obviously has the power to legislate this issue. There's no debating that. But absent that being necessary, are there voluntary restrictions that the council would place upon the use of the fireworks? Because the initial concerns over the activities at the weddings early in the morning were addressed quickly, and that was taken care of. The fireworks seem to be the thing that still generates some concern. So I did sit with Mr. Hillen. I provided in the packet some parameters that he outlined. We can discuss that and further, should the council so choose. I think that if the council wants to engage in that discussion, my recommendation would be to try to do a resolution through conversation. Failing that, obviously, my recommendation would be to legislate.
That should be the last thing.
I mean, I thought the proposed option looked good, as far as, what they would try to do.
As long as they're abiding by it.
Well,
because we don't want to we don't want to start legislating.
Then you'd be running everybody's business.
Right, but, I mean, that's my feeling. I don't know how, if anybody
When it interferes
has.
with residents, then it becomes our business.
right.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in legislating unless we have to, but I do have an issue with fireworks during the school year, during the week.
Right.
I think it should only be a Friday, Saturday kind of a thing. And then on top of that, questions has come up, and again, I don't know enough about fireworks, but are there quiet fireworks? So what I mean by that...
Yeah, we thought that's what.
Right. What I mean by that is you have the fireworks that have big reporting, which are the big booms.
Yes.
Is there fireworks that are not reporting like that?
He's taking out the boom.
Taking out the boom.
There's a facility that is known as the Palace in Somerset County, and as a component of this, the township's fire official, representatives from the castle went down to the Palace because the Palace implemented less boomy fireworks.
Right. Quiet fireworks.
Quieter fireworks. Essentially, it's their cakes and their smaller shells, and there are fireworks that go up without report. And the Palace is located in a different setting than the Legacy Castle is. So the most recent fireworks show that the Legacy Castle had was the cakes and the less boomy fireworks.
But it didn't work.
Because of the relationship I've been positive enough to establish with some of the residents down there, I asked them, let me know. Is it the same? Is it louder? Is it less loud? What is it like? Everybody quickly responded that it was the same volume.
Oh, really?
Why?
So it wasn't less of a boom and more of a thud?
And it has to do with the way it's situated.
It's the
Yeah, you have a lake, you have a lot of different dynamics. The Palace is in a commercial or industrial area, so there's higher buildings that buffer sound more. Right now, we have basically a wide open area with a lake that bounces acoustics.
Well, at least we tried it. I mean,
absolutely.
Good news is that they were receptive in trying this.
Without question.
Good thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I say that the ongoing discussions have been positive, and everything's been met with acceptance rather than resistance.
Right. I kind of agree with Ryan that it should be Fridays and Saturdays and not during the weekdays during the school year, because it's,
It's something to ask him to do.
And I think another thing is, as soon as we learn about it, we need at least, 72 plus hours.
What do we?
Time that we can inform the residents, right?
We have significantly more time than that because the permit required is a permit from the fire official.
Okay.
So typically we have, a good couple of weeks' notice.
How do you suggest that we inform the residents?
Well, there'll be a new website, hopefully.
Facebook, and we can only do what we can do, but at least as long as we know it and we're pushing it out there, we've done something.
Yeah, I think there are pros and cons to notifying the residents. I think notifying them is ultimately where we should go, but I just want to, for the benefit of the discussion, make the comment that, if you announce that there are going to be fireworks,
guess what happens?
we may have people showing up who are uninvited guests, like ants at a picnic, showing up just to see them on the streets and other things. So we just have to make sure we moderate and manage that effectively.
Well, and, looking into the future, we're going to have some kind of an app, so we'll have the ability to push notification the residents of town without going onto Facebook, which is the world. I do have a question, though. So can you walk me through the process of getting a permit? So in other words, can I, 8 Tilly, pull a permit to shoot fireworks in my backyard?
You should be able to.
As long as they stay in your backyard.
Not being a fire official and being a simple man, I don't know the answer to that. I can get the answer. I'd have to speak to the fire official and find out what the procedures are. It's stipulated by town in New Jersey.
Right, why are they able to do it?
Right.
You're not able to.
Exactly. Is it a commercial thing, or is it based on space thing, or if I had a 1 acre lot and I didn't have a lot of trees, would I legally be able to go down and pull a permit to shoot fireworks?
People do it all the time without permits.
They do.
We're going to get a permit.
Yeah, I know the fire official is involved from a public safety perspective.
Right.
So there has to be a plan. There are a lot of things that go into it. So
Right.
I know there's more than simply asking for a permit and getting a permit to shoot off fireworks. I just don't know exactly what the details are, but I can.
I guess to Ryan's point, there's a lot of residents right near there, and that's why he's.
Well, I'll tell you, there's people more disruptive in town than the castle
Well,
around, especially around when you come to New Year's Eve. It gets crazy
But
around
before
here,
we
too.
start talking about the weekends, so let's go back to during the school year, Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, I don't
We
think
don't
it should
think-
That's
be
just a verbal
allowed
request.
22
Yeah.
Thursdays.
We can ask them. I don't think they're going to have a
Weekends only,
'Cause the way it was-
especially through the school year.
Yeah, because the way it was proposed here is, no later than like 8:30 or 8:45 at night during
They're
the...
done.
They're done. which
Sunday through Thursday.
I thought was reasonable, and then...
that was reasonable.
and then
Well, I guess we
Friday
want to
and
ask
Saturday.
the
Yeah,
school
but
year.
Sunday through Thursday, it could be Monday night, Tuesday night, not during the school year.
All right, so just so I understand, I want to make sure I have the consensus
True,
accurate.
It's still late out then,
That the
too.
request is during the school year, as described in the memo, it's rather well delineated, no fireworks on weeknights.
Right,
That's
so
what-
Sunday through,
Yeah, we can put...
Sunday through Thursday, a Friday
Sunday
night,
through
a
Thursday.
Saturday night.
Excuse me, yes, Sunday through
Right,
Thursday.
during school.
That's what I think. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree.
During the
During the
public-
summertime, okay, but
The
not during...
Pequannock published school calendar.
Yes, the public school.
Problem
Yeah, you would
with
have to do it
summertime
that
is it's
way.
darker later, they're shooting them off later at night.
That way they can look at the calendar and know when they set
Right.
dates for things, so there's something to look at.
Okay.
I'm sure he'll be cooperative.
Could be some way.
He has been so far.
So they're saying...
Other than that, are there any
So-
other
so wait-
So
questions?
they're saying from September to June, no...
Well, we're saying to
fire-
follow the school calendar.
Right.
Okay, and
that's
we're,
published.
and we're only saying Friday and Saturday?
That's what they're proposing.
During the school year.
During the school year.
Bang, during school year.
School year.
Yeah.
Well, let's clarify that. So,
See what he says.
What if it's spring break? So if we're saying follow the school calendar and the kids have off spring break, does
He
that
should be
mean
able
that
to do
they're
it.
allowed to shoot it off on Wednesday?
Why not?
Now it gets a little complicated, but...
I would say
Yeah.
follow the school calendar and leave it at that.
So...
But that is
I'm
school
booking my
calendar, that's what I
wedding 2
mean.
years
Yeah, so it's
from now.
off, so they could do it then.
Okay.
School calendar's not out.
Yeah, I'm booking my wedding 2 years from now. The school calendar's not going to be out. They're not
Yeah,
gonna be
true,
able to-
got a point there.
They're not going to be able to, well, we're going to offer you fireworks at your wedding?
Well, hey, if they're doing sales or...
So they're doing weddings
about
further
we-
out.
I'm
than
just
that.
saying, the question's gonna come.
How about we do this compromise? We do
Yeah, let's-
Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah,
Sunday
because...
is the first day of the week. The school.
I understand that. So you can light up, they can set them off
How about
Thursday night,
Thursday through
Friday night,
Saturday?
Saturday night, Sunday night.
How about
Well,
Thursday
that's on
night,
those
Friday night,
weeknights if they do them
Saturday?
before 9. You know, they're done by 9, which
Well, that's what it said here, anyway.
It gets later. I don't know how they can shoot them off before 9 o'clock.
you're going to have to,
So Thursdays and
Ask and see how it
Sundays during
goes.
the school year has to end no later than 8:45.
Right.
right.
During the school year, September 1st to the end of the public, Friday and Saturday, fireworks need to end by 9:15.
But here's the rub. When you get into June, early June, it's late, or it's light all the way up until 8:30.
That's not my problem. That's their problem.
They already proposed, though, that they would just go to
I
9:15.
think they're gonna.
That time, because it doesn't get dark until like,
Right, and that's
Yeah.
gonna be prime wedding season.
right, you're right.
Yeah, so like June 20th or whatever the longest day of the year is.
Well, maybe,
Yep, no, you gotta shoot them off before 9 o'clock.
Well, they got from 8:45 to 9:15. I mean, you
Right.
got a half hour. I mean, we know what a half hour of fire, we know what 15 minutes
if you
worth
say
of fireworks are
9:15,
like.
it'll be 9:30.
That's what our
10,
fireworks are.
And just to benefit the discussion further, the fireworks shows have been about 10 minutes.
Right.
Thus far.
Yeah, they're not real.
So it should work.
So I say Thursday and Sunday during the school year, got to be done by 8:45. And during the school year, Friday and Saturday, they got to be done by 9:15.
Yeah.
Not during the
I mean,
school
this isn't going to be
year.
legislated, you're going to have to just see if he
At this point in the
complies.
conversation,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of
I'm
agree
sure
with
they
you.
want to
We
be
need
a
to
good
give them-
neighbor. We want to be a good neighbor. They want to be a good neighbor. And I'm sure they, they'll comply.
Yeah.
They will.
All right, so just so,
All right, so I would say this.
I need to make sure I understand the consensus again.
So I would say this, I agree with you, Dave. We definitely want to be a good neighbor, and we want to be, small business, pro-small business. So let's start with that, let's see how it is. My only
Yeah, give them
concern
the
is
benefit
if
of the
they have
doubt.
a ton of, like, every Thursday or every Sunday. So we start there and we see how it is over the next 6 months, and then we,
Well, they even said they were limiting it to 24 times a year.
Thursday is the new Friday for weddings.
Right.
Thursday's
It really
Friday
is.
for weddings. Yeah, because it's cheaper.
And Sunday.
Yeah, right.
so, yeah.
Well, then,
Throw the fireworks in, it gets more expensive.
Yeah.
I think we should try that.
Yeah.
I mean, no more than, I like the proposal they said, we're just going to tweak.
Right, we're not putting anything in writing, we're not saying that
No,
this
this
is
is
an
what we're
ordinance.
asking.
We're being a good neighbor, we're asking them to be a good neighbor. Let's see how it works, let's let them know that we want to see how this works, and we'll,
And let them know that
Yeah.
we can write a law that says they can't
right.
do it.
the worst thing is when kids are going to sleep for school.
Which they're
and
aware of,
get
and they understand,
woken up.
and, again, the benefit of most relationships, in my experience, is communication. And the fact that there's such good communication has been positive.
And I would say to continue using the non-loud fireworks. I don't know if
The
there's,
boomless.
did we have a meter there?
We did not.
Saying that, okay, they were a little quieter. If they were a little quieter, I think those are the ones that they need to continue to use.
It was not empirical evidence, it was purely based upon experience.
But I don't think the residents are going to tell you they were quieter, to be honest with you.
Right.
They're not going to notice the difference.
Well, at least
They're pretty savvy then.
Right, you have to shoot a loud
It was a
one
step in the right
less
direction.
loud one, 2 seconds later.
All right, so you know what you're doing, Adam?
No.
Thursday, Sunday, during the school years, they got to be done by 8:45. During the school year, Friday, Saturday's got to be done by 9:15. And I think we all agree with item number 4.
Yeah.
Not during the school year, the end of the public school year through August 31st, all fireworks displays end no later than 10 p.m.
Right.
So item number 2, if you will, on the memo, during the school year, September 1st through the end of the public school,
Thursdays and Sundays by...
Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays.
No.
Thursday.
Thursdays,
Oh, yeah.
Fridays, Saturdays,
Yeah,
and Sundays.
Sunday. Right.
Thursdays,
Oh,
remember, I'm
that's right,
simple.
that's what screwed me up. Yeah, Thursday.
Saturday and Sunday, done by 8:45.
Yeah. Just, it's...
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no fireworks. Okay.
So, number 2 is during the school year, September 1st to the end of the Thursdays and Sundays. by
Through Sundays.
8:45.
Thursday through Sunday.
No, because
No,
then they
because
can
number
go
3
till
addresses...
9:15.
Number
Okay.
3 addresses during the
Right.
school year.
Gotcha. So we're adding Thursdays and Sundays to item 2.
Yes.
No later than
Only
8:45.
Thursdays and Sundays to item 2, and then number 3 is good, and number 4 is good.
Gotcha. Okay.
So really, the only change is...
They can't shoot off fireworks on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Exactly.
Right. Call Dave if you get mixed up.
I got it.
It was only a little change to 2.
Unless
really
it's
wasn't much
Rich's
of a change.
birthday, and then we'll...
Right.
Yeah, what about your birthday, man?
That'll work.
I don't have the money for fireworks.
We good?
Yeah, yes,
You're
thank you
good?
very much. I have it.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is council reports. Councilwoman Florence Lynch.
Okay, just a couple of things. I have, my Economic Development Committee meets tomorrow night here at 7:30. And I had a question about, the budget requests for committees. Now, I know you had put in everybody's mailbox, all of the committees, if they have budget requests to get those into you.
Yes.
Have you received any that you know of, and can the committee still get them in if they haven't?
When I met with the committee, we had a brief discussion, if I can recall, and their request was essentially the same thing as it was in 2018.
Okay. But if they have anything that they want to lay out, they should just get it into you ASAP?
I would have preferred it was gotten in by the
Okay,
deadline.
that's why I'm asking.
But I'll carry forward the status quo.
Right.
Obviously, if someone has something specific that's come up after the fact, I'll happily talk to someone. But
Okay.
the challenge is with so many different areas, if everybody comes in later.
All right, so you're basically going to put in what was there last year
Correct.
unless you got something new?
Correct.
Okay.
For the initial run, and then
Right.
once we see where we fall, then,
Okay,
obviously the council will get the first.
very good, thank you.
January.
And when are we going to talk about budget meetings?
Well, we're going to...
2019?
Yeah, Dave, it's too far away right now. I don't know what my schedule is yet.
Okay.
He's still
When we
putting
get
it
into
together.
January, we can nail it down at that point. I mean.
All right.
Right,
Are you done?
yes.
Okay, all right. Councilman Hurd?
Yes. So I'll start with tree lighting. It was beautiful. I'm glad to see that Chief Spring was there and looking good and chipper. A couple of things. So from League of Municipalities, there was a bunch of fitness product out there. And my thought process was, I don't know if we could do this through open space or Parks and Rec, but in combination with the rail trail, if there's a way that we can also add some type of outdoor workout. So if the idea is the rail trail is going to be, walking and running and biking and whatever, if we can also have some kind of athletic. Remember the old school ones where you could go down a trail and do push-ups or pull-ups or whatnot?
Like the stations.
Right, the stations, well, they have the next generation, which is, incredible stuff. It's really not that expensive, meant to be outside all the time. So questions are, and I'll give you this wonderful book, can we apply for funding for it, or can it be approved under a grant? Would it go under open space? Could it go under Parks and Rec? Those kind of things.
Where are you looking? You're looking to do this as a component of the rail trail?
Either as a component of the rail trail or in one of our parks, maybe in Greenview. An idea, so in Greenview, we have the big playground for all the kids, and then you see all the adults sitting over at one side. A new concept is to have those playgrounds with an adult workout, so they can watch the kids and also work out and get some outdoor,
Instead of eating
athletic
them.
ability instead of sitting there.
I think it's definitely something worth exploring, but I don't think the rail trail would be the spot because it's county property. So we'd have to go through a certain level of hurdles to try to change their park, if it will. If it's our park, it's our park.
Right,
So as a
right.
component of the budget process and the planning process, that's definitely something we can explore.
Well, it's something that could be for Greenview or another park in town. Again, something that's interesting.
Well, it was nice where they said that, Ryan, where they did have the two parks next to each other. That was one of
Yeah.
the models that they showed.
Where they had the kids were able to play, and then, parents would be able to watch the kids and do it. And it's surprisingly, it's very affordable, quite
And it
frankly.
really was like gym equipment.
Yeah, and it's got a long warranty. And it's all using your body mass, which is great. So it's still challenging, yet interesting. Let's see, what else? Opioid academic opioid problems. Let's keep it. Epidemic, right. Mayor and I sat in on a very interesting talk, I guess, down there. And although Morris County is doing very good, and I'm very happy about that, we're not number one in the least amount of overdose or administrations of, how do you say that?
Narcan.
Right. So we're doing very good, but we're not doing as good as we can. So it's one of those things that through MAC, Municipal Alliance Committee, we're always working at how do we get information out to the parents. We don't want to see it happen to any of our kids, but then we talk to our police, and it's amazing how many times it does happen in town. Quite frankly, one time is too many, right? That combined with suicide was another big topic down there. So there are a couple of things. The Morris County has a Youth Wellness Summit, which is Thursday, March 7th, 2019. It's something that we have to sign up for, but it was very interesting. If you could pass this down. They were looking for a liaison either from council or from the local high schools. So if there's a way that we can pass that through, it might be something that they're interested in.
And there was some grant money with that, too. Wasn't there a possibility?
There was. I don't remember exactly what it was for, but it was part of the drug-free, stigma-free. And we have made that official in our town, correct?
Yes.
So, let's see, what else? We talked about fireworks. Excellent. Two other things. So, schools. When you leave at the long time, we just happen to have all of our schools populating at the same time, whether it's Gerace, Hillview, North Boulevard. What I have noticed is, it gets really congested. We do have our people out there stopping, crossing guards and whatnot. I have noticed a lot of times where, unfortunately, kids, people are almost getting hit because people just aren't paying attention. Maybe they're looking over here at the kids and whatnot. I know Montville puts police or has it part of their patrol. I don't know if that's something that makes sense for us, but is it something that maybe we can have part of their patrol in the morning is we have 3 officers, 1 at each school, for 15 minutes until the kids get into school, get out of school, just for kind of traffic flow and reminding people that you got to stop. These are kids. God forbid something happens.
So in terms of police, you mean they're directing traffic? Or are they physically present?
No, they're sitting there and checking your speed, and I go through every day.
Okay. I think that we can absolutely, I'll have a conversation with the acting chief about, increasing the presence and providing some sort of monitoring the challenges based upon minimum manning if we have calls for service.
Right, yeah.
We can't have an officer sitting there definitely. So
right.
I'll talk to him about increasing the presence and working to try to enhance things. And unfortunately, when you have people trying to get to work and they're scrambling and you're a few minutes late, sometimes people don't make the best decisions, and it does create some...
I get it, but, you see these kids, we're talking a couple of years old, kindergarten through 5th grade. They're not thinking about a car coming out. At least with PV, it's a different dynamic. Everybody's dropping off their kids on the school side. Nobody's really crossing over. So that's that. And then the last thing I want to make a comment about is, we had an event in town the other day, which was a fire. And what I want to say about fire and EMS, Company 1, Company 2, and everybody that donates their time in that type of situation is, what I think the general public doesn't realize is the toll that it takes on the people that are giving their time. And what I mean from that is, an event happens, pager goes off, it's 2 a.m. in the morning, you jump out of bed, these guys have, all the adrenaline going, they go out to that happened to be a fire, they performed great, things, got taken care of. But how many, hundreds of times over the year do they do this for a false alarm? And they go back to bed or go back to home. Maybe they're out for 45 minutes and they go home and they're all, jazzed up because, of all the excitement. How that makes a toll on somebody.
Let me make a comment. Mm-hmm. My father died of a heart attack at a fire call, on a volunteer fire call. So if you want to talk about being ramped up and so forth.
Exactly.
It is true.
And that's what I'm saying. We don't give enough consideration for things like that because 2 or 3 days in a row, you're getting up in the middle of the night, you're not getting sleep.
They ran all day Thanksgiving and
exactly.
next night at 2:30 in the morning.
So I want to make a point of that. I want to thank everybody because it's a thing that happens that people don't realize. It's not something you're really thinking about, and then you're expected to perform in your day job or be around your family.
It's tough.
That's tough.
Yeah, they're volunteers.
They had to leave on Thanksgiving Day to go to fight a fire, and then they had to go back at 2:30 at night to the same place.
Exactly. So not only are we thanking our volunteers, Company 1, Company 2, EMS, police, but take that in consideration as well. They really do a lot of stuff. So that's my 2 cents, and I'm sticking to it.
They're an amazing group of people.
Yeah, we're very lucky.
Yes, we're
very lucky.
extremely lucky.
Yeah.
Dedicated people.
Definitely. Councilman Cole?
I have nothing really other than fair housing will meet tomorrow night at 7. And when you talk to the police tomorrow, Adam, maybe you want to say that I know we did do a crosswalk exercise, if you want to call it. I think we need to
Do it again.
do it again. I mean,
Enforcement for pedestrians and
there
crosswalks.
was a kid in the crosswalk the other day that no one stopped for him.
And he was off the curb standing
And he was
there.
off the curb standing there, trying to get across the street.
People do
You know,
what they want.
I stopped, but there was not one, there was probably 12 cars that went by on the opposite direction that did not stop.
And it's happened to me. I've stopped, and somebody's passed me on my right-hand side
Oh, yeah.
and almost hit somebody.
That's all I have.
All right.
Before something happens.
Before you do your report, am I allowed to go back and say one comment?
Yeah, sure.
on something?
We didn't get to Rich yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like to do Rich first?
No, you go ahead, go ahead. We'll
you go ahead.
He has time.
Real quick, there was something I forgot to bring up on my report. If everyone remembers, we had gotten, I think everybody was copied on the letter from the Historic District Commission, or Historic Preservation, Historic Preservation Commission about the naming of the bikeway, the bike path. And even though we're not naming it, the county names it. They had asked us what our feeling was with the name that they were proposing, which was the Pompton Path, I believe, correct? So anyway, so my question was that just in, a group had come up to me and just, had said that they thought that that wasn't a good name. So I wasn't sure if the whole council was on board with that, if there's any other suggestions that we want to give, or whether we just want to let it be. But I'm just giving you the
They
feedback.
should go to the county meeting.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean,
Yeah.
the residents basically just said, Pompton makes us think of when you just use the word Pompton, you think of Pompton Lakes. And then, of course, you have the whole thing with the
Why don't
Pompton
they
versus
name it the
Pequannock.
Morris County Bike
So,
Path?
exactly, it could be. Or it could be the Pequannock bike path.
Well, it's part of Wayne. It's very much part of Wayne, too.
So I'm assuming.
And then Wayne is Passaic County.
Well, their part could be Passaic.
All right, anyway.
Well, it has nothing to do with us.
So
It's a
my
county
last
project.
comment is, I don't know if Wayne is going to get to name that portion, or whether it's the whole portion between Pequannock and Wayne, but I'm just telling you that.
Well, they should participate with Parks and
Yeah.
Rec in the county, and they even came here and gave presentations twice
Right,
now.
right.
Where were these people?
Yeah, well, they weren't here when it.
Yeah, right?
But anyway.
They would give the names, Kathy.
The Wayne meeting, there was only 3 people that attended.
Yeah, so,
So everybody here is okay with Pompton Path?
I am.
Okay.
Look,
I'd just like to see it built.
it doesn't matter to me from right now.
I don't care what it's called, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, people are gonna call it what they call it anyhow.
Right.
It will become whatever
It's gonna be
anybody
called
calls it.
The bike path is what it's going to be
Right.
called. Okay?
Exactly.
All right.
Let's go
Well,
use the bike path. I'm not going to say, well, let's use the.
I just
I wouldn't
promised
say it
I
when
would
you
put
can't
it out
go.
there. I will direct them to the county or to Parks and Rec.
Yeah, they should, yeah, and it's getting late.
Yeah.
It's getting very late in the game.
Right.
This is like a 30-year project, and
Right,
they're
they're already,
and
listen, they're getting ready to print the signs, I heard.
yeah,
I had already relayed it to Betty, but I just.
it needs to be in writing. They need to, whoever should get together as a group, just as the Historic Commission did, and you send a letter, or you go to a meeting,
Right.
get it in the minutes.
Yeah. Just throwing it out.
Telling you isn't gonna do anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, yeah, okay, all right. Councilman Phelan?
So Ryan kind of summed it up with the fire companies and the fire call, so thank you, Ryan.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, that's fine. I did want to mention about the snowstorm, and the DPW, they did do a good job. It took me an hour and a half to go from my place in Wayne to Pequannock. It took me 5 minutes once I got into Pequannock to get to my house. The roads were much better here. They were a horrendous mess in Wayne. So even though everybody complained about how bad it wasn't as bad here as it was in other areas. So again, DPW always does a good job, and they avoided banging into all the leaf piles out there, which would have made a real mess out of everything. So that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. The only thing I have is everybody's aware of Eleanor Bogart's passing, and there's going to be a memorial service at the house on Saturday at noon. Those who go on the sewer...
We'll be done. We should
You're done. It won't be a long service, but it's actually going to be, there'll be food afterwards catered by Stefanos. He was very much, friends with her. So...
That's Saturday the 1st, correct?
Yeah, this Saturday, yeah. So it should be a nice little service. It won't be long, so don't feel like you'll take up your whole day. But she left a legacy for Pequannock.
Sure did.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say on that. Next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Okay. Come on down.
There's a lot written on that paper, Frank.
Frank Sposiri, 35 West Franklin Avenue. Just a couple of things. I know Joe was talking about this at the last meeting we had, about the name, and I think Morris County themselves want to call it the Pumpkin. So if you guys want to do something, you'll have to get to the Morris County people. Like you said, go to that meeting and if you want the name changed. The other thing I have is our illustrious governor wants to now make marijuana legal here in the state of New Jersey. And my question to you guys is, do we have any ordinances, or do we have to do anything in ordinance-wise to, they're going to do this retail, and I think somebody here already in town is going to start doing retail.
Manufacture
it and sell it. And can we regulate how many stores we can have in this town that sell marijuana, and to whom they're going to sell the marijuana to? We have to do something.
We have not had a formal discussion on the topic. We've all been reading and getting informed about it, but we haven't had a formal discussion
I know,
about
but if
it.
they pass it,
when they pass it, there will be local options in it.
Right.
Part of the passage. It's been one of the issues. What are they going to pass?
Yeah.
They've been talking about it for 6 months.
And one of the things that we learned, I think, down at the league, one of the things I sat in is municipalities will have the option of opting out or something.
In its
if they
current
wanted to.
form,
Right.
that's what they are proposing.
Right, yeah.
But you don't have-
We don't
Like
know
I said, we're
that
still
will be how it
learning,
ends
so,
up.
yeah, we're still
in
taking it
reality,
forward.
we're
well, you
still
may be able to
figuring
opt out, but if a retailer comes in this town and says, I want to open one,
Right.
and he takes you to court, I bet you he wins.
Just for the benefit of this, Mr. Oostdike and I, as this has been evolving, have been having conversations about it. But because there's nothing concrete yet, and,
Right.
The challenge is to pass an ordinance saying something's illegal that's already illegal doesn't seem like the most effective use of legislation. So that's why, unfortunately, we've been monitoring it, paying attention, and waiting to see. Obviously, there's zoning and other components to it. So, unfortunately, we're keeping an eye on it, and when the discussion becomes necessary, we'll absolutely have it.
Yeah, I realize that. I realize now that when the police stop somebody and they've been smoking pot, we're going to arrest you because it is a law. But now that he's going to make it legal, that's another whole new ball.
Yeah, we won't be able to do
You
that.
will not be able to do that because you'll be under the influence, right?
Anyway, I just thought I would...
There's a lot of legislation
It's
that has to go on.
a challenge.
The other thing is the January 8th meeting is going to be a regular meeting,
Yes.
Yes.
and the second is...
It's a reorg.
the reorg?
Yes.
That one start at 6.
Are we taping that?
I would.
Are you out of town?
Yeah.
No, I'll be
All
here.
right.
I was just asking, so I know my schedule, you know? I don't work here.
I'll fill in for you. It's a better seat back there.
Okay, that's it, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. Next on the agenda is minutes for approval from November 7th. I looked at them, I read them.
I looked at them.
I discussed them with Carol.
There is one small change, just to clarify that the mayor's comment about the change in the amounts on the master plan, I just put in a reference to the actual resolution number to make it clear what she was talking about.
Right.
I'm okay. I'll make a motion to approve them with that change.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any of those two?
It was only the three of them.
Right, you got
I was
that.
not here.
They were
You
here,
just
yeah.
abstained.
Just the three of us.
I abstained.
Yes,
He abstained too.
thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is closed session, and I know we have several items.
I'll make a motion to go into close.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, before,